three big pieces of news. Number one, we now have the 4680 batteries have now shown up in China, which means we're in production and being distributed globally for installation. Two, we obviously have the gigapress working everywhere to increase production and reduce cost. And three, Tesla has just signed to begin selling power in Texas. This is Greg for Teslafaninsight. Thanks for joining us. If this is your first time, welcome. If you're a repeat visitor, welcome back. We also want to thank our Patreon supporters. If you enjoy the show and like additional information for better trading and investing, please join us on Patreon. The top tier, we do a show every morning to assist in your investing, trading, planning. Finally, again, wanted to also encourage you to like and subscribe if you enjoy the show. And we also wanted to note this is a copyrighted broadcast, all rights reserved. Please, we're going to use some video from the battery introduction last year, but all comments here, all rights are reserved, and you're not authorized to use it without permission. So today is a really exciting day. It's Friday the 26th of August 2021, and we're now in what I call amazing zone. For the last several months, we've been tracking the progress of what's been going on with the 4680 battery. Basically, as of 3 months ago, we were told it was in heat testing out in the desert in Arizona. I didn't hear anything about the cold testing part of it, but that seemed to be going well. We then learned about a month ago that everything had gone fine with all that testing, but they were having problems in the test factory in Fremont, where about 10% of the batteries were being damaged by the machinery. And so I was thinking to myself, well, that's great that you're 90% productive right now. And obviously losing 10% would lower the cost potential impact of what was going on. But now that it's being introduced normally, I think this is totally awesome, and congratulations to the folks at Tesla, as well as Elon and the entire team for getting this done. I have to say that I watched most of Battery Day, and I thought all the information shared was excellent, but seemed to offer too much information to potential competitors. So I was a little nervous about what this would do. I have to say that because it's been a while, I kind of forgot some of the benefits of it, and I didn't know if I wanted to watch 2 hours of a show to sort of refresh. So we've decided to include about 2 minutes of video here to allow you to sort of refresh what the 4680 is, and in general, sort of why does it really matter, and then move on in our discussion from there.
It may sort of sound a bit silly to some people, but this is like, if for people that really know cells, this is a massive breakthrough.
For cylindricals to be able to get rid of the tabs dramatically simplifies winding and coating.
Yeah.
And has an awesome thermal and performance benefit.
Yeah, that's just to elaborate on that a bit. It's like when the cell is going through the system, it has to keep stopping where all the tabs are.
Yes.
So you can't do continuous motion production if you have tabs. You have to keep stopping, and then there's a rate at which you can start and stop and accelerate again, and really slows down the rate of production. And then sometimes you get the tabs wrong, and you also lose a little bit of active area. It's really a huge pain in the ass to have tabs from a production standpoint.
Yes. And so when we put it all together and go to our new 80 millimeter length, 4680, we call this new cell design, we get 5 times the energy with 6 times the power and enable 16% range increase, just form factor alone.
So when these, it's pretty great. And just to clarify that when we see these plus 16% or whatever the percentage range increases, these are the amounts due just to that particular innovation.
Yes.
So we'll list a whole bunch of innovations, and then when you add them up, you get a total improvement in energy density and cost. But these numbers are what refer to just this thing.
Yeah, and I want to stress, this is not just a concept or a rendering. We are starting to ramp up manufacturing of these cells at our pilot 10 gigawatt hour production facility just around the corner.
Yeah. So, yeah. It's a video of some of what's going on in the plant. Now, I mean, to be clear, it will take about a year to reach the 10 gigawatt hour capacity. So this is important to appreciate. Like when you build a factory, there's a certain capacity that you design to, and then it takes some period of time to actually achieve that capacity. So I would say it's probably about a year before we get to the 10 gigawatt hour annualized rate with the pilot plant. And this is just a pilot plant. The actual production plants will be more on the order of maybe 200 gigawatt hours, maybe more over time.
And thank you. But let's stack up everything we just saw at the cell level. So just the cell form factor change enables a 14% dollar per kilowatt hour reduction, just that cell form factor change. And now that you've been teased on this factory, we're going to go on and walk step by step through that factory and discuss a series of innovations there.
So welcome back. As you can see, Elon's pretty jazzed about this product. There's a psychological term called cognitive dissonance, and the numbers that are coming up right now relative to Tesla are kind of mind-blowing. The first is that, as you'll notice, there's a bunch of information floating around about the difference the 4680 makes. Basically, the suggestion is that the 4680 is a 50% improvement in the cost. So 40% of the cost of the vehicle is actually in batteries. And if you cut that in half, that's a pretty dramatic number that the 4680 represents. And if you go through the whole video, he talks about the fact that you're getting lower cost throughput, but the functionality is improving in terms of no issues with battery overheating, etc. So I would say this thing is a miracle, and it's going to make a huge difference. So the mental challenge I'm having with the cognitive dissonance is the idea that if you cut the battery pack cost in half and you use the gigapress to get a 40% reduction in the cost of manufacturing, those two numbers combined suggest to me that that's a really big number. So the question is, how do you parse that all out? I would argue that if you add it all up, you're looking at the overall cost of the vehicle dropping by something like 30 to 40%. And if that's the case, we're now headed into that $25,000 vehicle zone. What I'm hoping for is that, given that there's a shortage of vehicles as it is with Tesla and Elon, that they don't actually drop the prices immediately, and we just end up with some nice profit margins for the company until the decision is made to go after that larger, sort of lower price tier of vehicles. So I'm really looking forward to this also, because right now we're still a month and a week away from the end of the quarter, almost a month and a half, because the batteries have been being produced and stockpiled over the last, let's say, 2 or 3 weeks at least. So what it's suggesting is that for about half the quarter, we're now running lower costs across gigapress as well as the batteries being used. And if that's the case, I think that all of this news is going to have to be rebaked in and have a really strong updraft impact on the stock, which I think is terrific. So the other component of information that arrived was that Tesla is applying to become a power provider in Texas. Wow, this is pretty amazing, great news to hear, that Tesla's entering the power business in this way, definitely going to add to revenue, and it's a core competency of the company. So they're going to be able to provide products for themselves that are much better than, or as good, if not better than what they've been offering to customers globally for the last several years. The problem I'm seeing with this, though, that I don't understand is what happens once you become a competitor to power companies in a market like Texas. It's a big market, and so it's a good thing to enter the new business. But usually people that are trying to build and sell to customers around the world are going to avoid becoming a competitor. So I don't know how this is going to work, obviously, in regards to intimidating customers. And will those customers, now being intimidated by you entering their marketplace, decide to cut down on how much business they give you? Answer, I actually don't know what the answer is to that one. If I were a large utility, let's say Duke Energy, that's a pretty large entity, and Tesla started selling against me in Texas, I'd have to say that I'd probably be inclined to say, well, you guys make great products, but who else is available? Because I don't necessarily have my full activity open to you as a supplier if I'm going to have to deal with you as a competitor as well. So there's probably an answer to this that's brilliant and unknown. So we'll see what happens. The one last thing that's huge about this discussion is what's called structural batteries. So I've been quizzing our Tesla contacts regarding, well, what's going to happen with the Semi? And the answer that kept coming back was the vehicle's too heavy right now, and the structural process that goes with the new 4680 battery was going to enable there to be a weight reduction that would allow the vehicle to now become viable. So I wanted to say that I think this is awesome that that's available. We're going to run some videos so you can look at sort of the structural process Elon had in mind, and the fact that basically you have the rear and front substructure, and then you have the battery pack sort of linking the two primarily, and then you put the skin on and we're done. So I think this is a very exciting time for Tesla folks of every stripe. And to have all of this coming together early, or earlier than expected, means that Tesla is going to be able to deliver some awesome vehicles with performance specs that are pretty amazing, given the weight reduction of the structural 4680, etc. So we look forward to covering further the difference this is making. I think the biggest excitement about this is that if we can get a 30 to 40% reduction in the overall cost for the company, but you don't necessarily drop the prices on the vehicle that much, I just think it suggests that Tesla is in a position right now where we're about to see some terrific earnings and revenue numbers, which result then in the stock doing extremely well. So for those of you who are long holders, congratulations. We look forward to see some really incredible things happening. At any rate, I want to thank you once again for joining us. This is Greg for Teslafaninsight, Juice Germany. Shalom, Lehitrot, Hebrew, Choda Hafez, Farsi, Hey Do, Swedish, good day, our friends in Australia, Konbanwa, Japanese, Ni Hao Ma, Chinese, and I keep forgetting Salam in Muslim. And I want to thank you all for joining us. Ciao. And in Jamaica, we say, Nuff respect, walk good man. Congratulations on a really exciting piece of news for Tesla.